I thought we should talk.
I don't know how to start.
I'm Noah Baumbach, and this is a key location from my movie Marriage Story. It actually gives me anxiety to be in this space a little bit. The scenes that were shot here all were quite emotional, so we spent a lot of time here. We were sort of like living in this complex. We had rooms upstairs. We'd sort of come down. It was like a boxing ring or something.
How about that great picture of Henry on the Staten Island ferry?
Aren't you in that one?
I guess I'm...
It took a long time to find this apartment because I had definite ideas of what it should be. One thing that was very important to me was having this line here in the middle of the space. That way, when he's here talking and she's, standing over here, you have two people who can't see each other talking to each other, but we can see both of them. And it just seemed like so much of the movie at this point is this together and separate thing that's going on between them, and this could illustrate that.
Could you change it so I could take him?
It's just one night he's looking forward to it.
Movie making is a combination of both sort of practical decisions and storytelling decisions, like, what would be the kind of furniture you would just find in a place like this if it was a pre-furnished apartment in our minds. We saw these kinds of couches and things in many of the references and places we visited because there's so much negative space in this apartment, and there always was going to be because there's nothing really on the walls. When somebody sits, you really do feel the room above them, that there's a kind of smallness in this space, even though it's not that big a space. But we also liked the sort of hard edges of, this kind of table, just that thing of discomfort in a way, even just in things that are supposed to be comfortable. We also liked the sort of sharp angles because the way of the apartment is sharp angles versus, say, the proscenium of their Brooklyn apartment, which feels inviting.
Hey, where's Henry?
He's with Cassie and her kids at laser tag.
This scene when Nicole comes to talk to Charlie and maybe try to find some kind of common ground, I felt like the story of this sequence, which is about 11 pages in the script, it was the story of them trying to find voice, in a sense.
I'll take a juice box.
The juice box initially came from the fact of, I thought, Charlie's living here alone. He doesn't have much. But what came from that is that then she has the juice box and she ends up making her way over to this chair here and laying it down on the floor. This all leads to the final shot of the scene, which is this wide shot as he falls to the ground. And I felt like the juice box is Henry's presence in their lives and in our lives as an audience, that he's not in this scene, he's not here, but he is there, and he's really powerless in this situation.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
There's a lot of movement in this room. They're long scenes, but they have real story beats as we go through them. So I wanted movement to convey that, and also different locations, in a sense, within the same location to convey that. And something that I thought a lot about was that the blocking, in a sense, should parallel their relationship up until this point in the movie. And what came out of that was this sort of notion that Charlie is the one moving away and kind of, in a sense, deflecting. He walks in here and does a dish. She's the one sort of coming and trying to get him to sort of come out. I mean, it's almost like coaxing a scared animal out. And then she finally says something that gets him angry enough to come out. But then he still doesn't want to confront the situation because he knows the cost, how painful it's going to be.
I am not like my mother.
You are! And you're like my father. You're also like my mother. You're all the bad things about all of these people.
The process is, cinematographer Robbie Ryan and I, by the time we're rehearsing in here, we've now shot listed the movie probably twice. But then the actors are going to feel their way through this idea. And sometimes there's choreography that I have that they'll just say, yeah, no, it makes sense. And then other times, actually, I don't think I should stand yet, or I'd like to stand earlier, or I don't know that I would come out on that line. And then we all kind of get into it together.
I think about being married to you, and that woman is a stranger to me.
When we do the close-ups, after we've been somewhat wider for most of the scene, and we go in, we have sort of three versions of the close. It's like here, then it's kind of here, and then it really is, in here. And there's a sequence in Last Picture Show that Jeff Bridges and Timothy Bottoms are circling a car, and they start to have this argument. And he gets in closer, but he starts cutting back and forth within the same line. So it gets really kinetic. And it felt the scene wanted that for this sequence in particular, because it almost becomes them just hurling insults at each other. And it's like the train can't stop and we're just going in. But again, had to be very particularly staged and architected because we knew what words we were going to cut on. And so I would have them do particular gestures on each line. So it wasn't just the word, it was also the movement. So he would move his head, back to being a hack, and he would lean in. And so it's almost like that they're like being hurled at each other editorially.
I can't believe I have to know you forever!
Oh, you're fucking insane!
This waltz was something we spent a lot of time figuring out, and this really came out of all of the rehearsals and the blocking, which was exactly how high is the hole. When he's going to hit it, we shot it repeatedly. So he always had to hit the same spot. We had a fake wall put over this wall, so that was more breakaway. But Adam had ice on his hand, and he still really had to hit it. After hitting it so many times, the people next door, they weren't in there when we were shooting for obvious reasons, but I guess he went right through the wall. When I was doing research for the movie and talking to couples, it was a common theme was people talking that it brought up feelings of failure. I think it's great to put sunlight on this thing that often does feel like failure because it's not failure. And partly what I wanted to say with the movie is that endings don't have to be failings, and that we can still celebrate the thing for what it was, even if it's over.